Since my workshops are on trauma, there are people always releasing, going deep inside to experience their traumas, trying to resolve them and heal them. And it makes me reflect about trauma in general around the world and among human beings. And I want to offer this short reflection. There is a song written by a country western singer, I don't remember his name, but it's about a guy who discovers that he has cancer. And when he discovers this, he goes and tells his friend, I have cancer. And his friend is shocked by this. And he says, what did you do when you discovered you had cancer? And he said, the first thing I did is I went and I climbed the Rocky Mountains. And what is meant by that is I did the things I've never done and I've always wanted to do in life, but never found the time for them. And yet when he discovers this horrible trauma that he's going to die from cancer, that's what motivates him to go and do something that he's never done before and always wanted to do. And then the song goes on. He says that I became the kind of friend that a friend would want to have. Now it's a simple statement, but when we think about that, the question becomes, well, why weren't we always that kind of a friend? Why aren't we the kind of friend that a friend would want to have? What stops us from doing that? And why does some sort of tragedy break or shatter our normal way of living, and all of a sudden we change our lives? Why do we have to wait for a trauma to happen to become the kind of friend that a friend would want to have? And then he also says in the song, I became the kind of husband that most of the time I wasn't. And so that makes me ask myself, how am I much of the time not the kind of person that I want to be? How are we not the kind of father that we want to be, or mother, or grandchild, whatever? What is it that stops us as human beings from being the kind of person we really want to be, but we don't have time for it, or we get too frustrated or too agitated? And so those are the things that I think about when I'm experiencing people releasing trauma. Because I experience both the painful part of the releasing of the trauma, as well as the joyful part of people saying, oh my gosh, it's released, I feel renewed, I feel excited. So trauma has this paradoxical experience for people where initially it's shattering and difficult and painful, but somehow it also has the possibility of transforming us and causing us to change our lives. And so this song goes on to say things like, I changed my life essentially to the way I really wanted it to be, but somehow never lived it that way. And so the question that's put to me after being with these people who recovered from trauma was I just nice? Was I simply kind? I don't even have to be loving. My fear is on my deathbed someday, I'm going to sit there and say, well, David, why weren't you just nicer to people? Why weren't you just more kind? What is it that stops us from just being simply kind to people? I think if we spent our 80 years on this planet with not even very high expectations of love, but just with an expectation of simply being kind to other human beings and kind to ourselves, that could transform the world. So my question to you as well as to me is, why aren't we just kind to one another? Just be gentle with each other. And the other thing that I consider oftentimes, and I teach this a lot to everybody, have difficulty doing it myself, but when I look at people who have been through traumas and tragedies in lives, and particularly now young people, when I work with them a lot, my biggest advice to them is to go out and play in life. Enjoy yourself. How many times we have been consumed by the work ethics, or consumed by finances, consumed by responsibilities. How many of us keep saying to ourselves, oh, someday I'm going to have to relax, someday I'm going to have to play more, someday I'm going to have to enjoy myself more. And my question is, do it now. And I say that to myself too. Just relax and enjoy life. Have pleasure when I travel. Go to nice restaurants, or just sit and be quiet and enjoy the silence and the moments of quiet that I have. So my reflection this time around trauma and helping people release their trauma is, don't wait for some trauma or some tragedy to shock you into changing your life to the way that you want it to be. Can we do that without a trauma or tragedy? Can I be the kind of friend that a friend would want to have? Can I be the kind of spouse that most of the time I'm not? Can I go out and climb the Rocky Mountains just because I've always wanted to do it and it would be fun? So I'm just offering that as a reflection for you. Think about loving and enjoying your life for you, even with the responsibilities you may have. But for heaven's sakes, don't miss living life. It's just a horrible tragedy. And don't require trauma or something tragic in your life before you finally break this old pattern and transform yourself into being somebody that you really, really want to be on the planet. So, go out, play today, enjoy your life, and be the kind of friend that a friend would want to have.